Join our Patreon page at patreon.com/comics for fun and profit. Why, you ask? Well, because we are on episode 700 and something, and we've been cranking these out for a decade for you. So, hey, support us. Throw us a shekel or two. A little something, wet our whistle. A little something to give us a taste. Join our Patreon, patreon.com/comics fun profit.
Support for Comics for Fun and Profit is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package is the ultimate in men's hygiene. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer, 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code C4FAP at manscaped.com. I've been with Manscaped since the 1.0, and now we're on the Lawnmower 4.0. This trimmer is the future of grooming, and I dare say the greatest trimmer ever. The 4th generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 is waterproofed and also has an LED spotlight for more precision shaving. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code C4FAP at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com when you use the code C4FAP. That's the letter C, the number 4, FAP at manscaped.com. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.
Aloha, this is Jason from Hawaii. Welcome to a special edition of the Comics for Fun and Profit podcast. In this episode, I will be interviewing Neil Kleid, writer, and Andrea Mutti. They are the creative team of The Panic. It is a 5-part Comixology original. Issue 1 comes out on May 3rd, and Issue 2 comes out on June 7th. Neil and Andrea, how are you guys doing today?
Good, thanks. Thanks for having us.
Really good, really good. Thank you for having us, and it's always a pleasure. And so glad to meet my pal for the first time live.
Yeah. This is the first time that we've actually spoken to one another.
Yeah.
It's
awesome,
exciting.
right?
Good to hear from you, man.
Oh yeah, me too. So excited too.
All right. Before I continue, did I pronounce your guys' names correctly?
Yeah.
Yep. Neil Kleid. Yep.
Okay.
Did I understand, right?
Okay. All right. So Neil, I'm just going to briefly go over your history just to give listeners an idea of your work history. Now, you received in a 2003 Zurich Award grant for your graphic novella, 90 Candles. That was back in 2014. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was actually before that. It was 2003.
Oh, I'm sorry, 2003.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I got it in 2003. That was really the start of my career. The Zurich grant was kind of a thing at the time. It was a publishing grant that was put together by Peter Laird of Ninja Turtles fame. And I was doing a lot of mini comics and self-published web comics at the time. And I had been working on this one book that was really just an experiment. I wanted to see if I could make a comic without a script. And the idea was that every page of the comic, because I draw as well, every page of the comic was informed by the page before it. So I would start with 1, and then I'd get to page 2 and be like, all right, here's what happened before, and I'm going to just kind of keep going. And it was done in this like family circus style design, and I just did basically the life of a cartoonist. And friends of mine in Brooklyn said, hey, you should really submit this for a Zurich. I did not think I was going to win, and yet I did. And so I put it out in 2004 to the excitement of no one, because I have cases of it upstairs in my attic.
Nice.
All right, and then also you wrote. I know you did, and then you started working comics. You did Old Men Talking in Bars. It was a short story from Superman 2011 80-page giant. And then just recently you did an original graphic novel for Dark Horse that came up in 2020 called Savior. Is that correct?
Savior. Yeah. I've done a bunch of stuff. I like telling people I've worked with almost every publisher in the industry at this point, doing a lot of short stories. The Superman one was sort of at the beginning. Before that, I did an X-Men short story, and then I've done Wonder Woman. I've kind of dabbled with everyone for at least a little bit.
Yes.
Saber was the last book that I had out. It came out last year. And here's a little fun fact. It actually released in the world on January 6, 2021.
Okay.
And if you really want your book to really just do gangbusters, have it come out the day of an insurrection, because everyone is focused on your book and not on an attack on the Capitol. But yeah, I got to do the book with my buddies John Broglia and Frank Reynoso, who are amazing artists. And it's a book I did for my daughter. I've always wanted to do an adventure book. I've always wanted to do something with a pirate theme, and also something. I love food. I love to eat. I love to cook. So I wanted to kind of take all those inspirations and really put them in this little stew and create a fun little adventure that my kids could read. And so that's what we did. And it came out last year. People seem to like it. We're hoping one day to do another. But if not, it's out there, and I hope people read it and enjoy it.
Oh, okay.
It's so funny story.
Thanks. Yeah.
It's so funny.
All right, and then Andrea, so your history is you attended the comics school of Brescia, Italy.
Yeah.
Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah, correct, Brescia. Correct.
Okay. And then
Many years ago.
And then that school that was led by the late Argentinian comic artist Ruben Sosa.
Yes.
And he was one of your teachers, is that correct?
Yes, he's a master. Was a master. Now he passed away, fortunately. I think 8 years ago, something. But he was a real master. He was in the same school of the great Argentinian schools, you know. And we had a good time. A good master, very tough sometimes, but I learned a lot. It's awesome. It was awesome.
And then you also have a very long career in comics. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. From 1993 to 2000, you were one of the artists for the Bonelli series, Nathan Never.
Yes. I started my career. I was in college, so I was 18 years old. My first contract signed. What the hell? I was super young, man. Oh my goodness.
You're super young now. What are you talking about?
Oh, my man. Did you the answer? Yeah, my man.
And then you've done work over the years. Namely, I'm just going to point out just a couple things. Is of course, back in 2012 for Dark Horse, you did Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic War series.
Yes.
And of course, recently, you've done for Aftershock Bunny Mask, Maniac of New York, The Bronx is Burning.
Yes.
For Dark Horse,
Parasomnia.
Yes, thank you very much. and then just released from TKO, One Eye Open. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then, listeners, we will touch upon that last TKO book at the end of the interview. Now I got Andrea's information from a website. I'm going to try to pronounce the name correctly. Lambic. It's like a comics encyclopedia website. Now, Neil and Andrea, did I miss anything?
No, I mean, it has no sense to make a long list of all my titles or all my publishing, but I work for Dark Horse, Marvel, DC Comics, Image, Top, whatever. I mean, that's me.
Yeah, we both done some work. It's out there. People can Google us or check. Comixology or Amazon or what have you, and they'll be able to find our lengthy list of books.
Yeah.
All right. Now, before I start the interview, I want to give a big shout out to Pamela Horvath of Superfan Promotion setting up this interview. And, Pamela, thank you very much for giving advance copy. I'm going to ask, did you guys want to add anything to that?
No, Pamela's awesome. Pamela and David, her partner, they've been great working with us. We're, setting up the launch and getting us ready to get our little book out into the world. So thank you to both of them, because we could not do this without them.
Absolutely agree. And I worked with Pamela years ago in Vertigo for the Girls with Dragon Tattoo, and she did an amazing job. It's always with a partner in crime. I'm so glad, even for David.
All right. Now, Neil, I'm going to start off with you. Where can listeners find you on social media?
So I'm on Twitter and Instagram, just Neil Kleid, so NeilKleid. I talk mostly about comics or food. On Instagram, you may see my kids every now and then, but for the most part, that's where I'm interacting on a daily basis. And then I have a bookshop website. So bookshop.org is a site that supports independent bookstores. So I've got some books up there. And then of course on Amazon and Comixology, all of my books are on both of those. So put in Neil Kleid, search under books, you'll find me. Just like you'll find The Panic, #1 on May 3rd.
Yes.
And Andrea, what about you?
The same, Instagram and Facebook, Twitter, and my name, Andrea Mutti 9. So my first and last name and number 9. You can reach me out whatever you want. I have even a website, but I don't use it so much. It's too hard to keep the website updated for everything I do also.
And his emoji game is on point. So if you talk to him on social, you'll get some amazing emoji reactions.
Yeah, it is.
All right. So we're just going to jump right into this, listeners. So we're going to talk about The Panic. Now, before I start asking questions, and Andrea, I saw on your Twitter feed, the comic got a high praise from Kurt Busiek, and he put, quote, "a vivid, involving psychological thriller about New Yorkers trapped underground after disaster. Character, suspense, claustrophobia." And did I mention the rats?
So first of all, no spoilers, right? But for sure, some rats here and there are not gonna happen,
I mean, it's New York, right? The book is
New
New York.
York.
We have rats in the coffee shops here, so
Exactly.
Drinking lattes.
Yeah, it's a part of the neighborhood.
Yeah, but that was really nice of Kurt to say. Kurt, we sent the book out to some of our friends just to kind of get their opinions, and because we thought they'd like it.
Yes.
And Kurt actually gave me a quote for me, John, and Frank a quote for Saber, the last book I did, and he was nice enough to really talk about The Panic on social. So thank you, Kurt. Kurt is a genius. Read Astro City, read Aerosmith, read all of the books that Kurt does, and we can't thank him enough.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Thank you so much, Curtis. The review is pretty short and very detailed at the same time. And I think there are really nice details, very curious, and can get appeal for the readers. And I'm pretty sure that's going to be a fun story. This is a kind of normal story about an incredible adventure. So I loved it.
All right. And then that's a perfect segue, because I'm going to ask Neil, what is the story about?
So The Panic is a story that I've been writing for a long time. And it is a story about a group of strangers who are trapped in a PATH train under the Hudson River on their way from New Jersey to New York. Something happens, they don't know what it is. It could be a breakdown, an apocalyptic event. It's unknown and unclear. And they are basically stuck in the subway car and they have to get out. And so it's about a group of strangers, people who come from a lot of different political, social, and cultural ideologies. Some of them hate each other, some of them like each other, some of them don't really know each other. And the question is, can humanity come together when the lights go out? Can we work together and put all the shit behind us and survive, right? And it was really inspired by my life as a New Yorker around September 11th, 2011. I really was living in the city at the time. I was uptown. I was supposed to have a meeting downtown when the towers fell. And I actually slept in and woke up to my mom calling me and basically saying, "Where are you? Are you okay?" And really spent the day kind of in a daze walking around Manhattan, watching how the city just kind of came together. Really just New Yorkers, when the chips are down, we put the shit aside and we get stuff done, right? And people were making sandwiches and bringing it down to the site. People were running down there and trying to move rubble. Blood was being given. And so for me, that was like a real clear indicator of what you can really do when just at the core, you're just human, right? Really, we're humans first. Everything else is kind of second. And I've seen that a number of times. I've been I spent a year in Israel, in Jerusalem, a year abroad, and have seen friends of mine in terror attacks, seen friends of mine in situations where their lives are in danger. And so it's about people helping other people, but also it's about really, and this is where the title came from, that inner fear when something is going on and you don't know what it is. There's that sense of, oh my God, the lights are off. Oh my gosh, my train stopped. You know, on 9/11, there were people trapped underground in the subway system for hours, not knowing that the towers had fallen, not knowing that there was an attack. And I could not imagine what it must have been like, you know, cut off from your phones, cut off from the outside communication, and you're kind of hearing things maybe from the drivers. And there's this sense of just like, oh my God, did the world just come to an end? And so that's really what inspired the book, this sense of not just group isolationist, group versus isolationist, but also the sense of like, what will humanity do when you're just facing fear and unknown? And that's what really inspired the book. And so the book is really about, again, these 10 strangers, their journey from the crash site to get out of the tunnel, and sort of the dangers and things that happen along the way. And Kurt actually, his quote summed it up really well. There are rats, but the rats aren't the biggest problem.
Yes.
I agree. This is the point. Nice touch, man. Nice touch.
Well, Kurt is a genius, and he wrote our marketing copy better than I could. So
yeah.
So, Andrea, when Neil told you this, I'm going to ask, did you want to? What did you think when Neil told you this story? You know.
Well, when I read the plot and the outline, I felt exactly the same what Neil is going to talk before. This kind of struggling, this kind of feeling, some fear, and the trap of the claustrophobia. And at the same time, what I loved was the people involved was different between, like a melting pot of a melting pot, but at the same time, normal guys, normal girls, they do the job, hobbies, love stories. And in events like that, something change in their soul, in their mind, and you are going to expect it, like they help each other. So it kind of community, like, oh, you are all friends, the same stuff, the same problem. But the human behavior is really strange, and your reaction could be really different than we expected. So your friend become your enemy, or make sense, or in a different way, your enemy become your friend.
Yes.
And this kind of craziness and madness is no idea what's going on outside. And it's really interesting. The best thing for me is the approach for the different culture, the different approach of the same situation. And the fear. The fear is constant fil rouge of this story. What's going on after this door? What's going on after this window? What's going on with this new camera? I mean, and really, really high tension every single page. So you want to know what's going on, what's happened, and you are always in scare. I love it. Like, it seems like sometimes I feel like Alien. No, the first Alien, very dark. Everybody in the same time. I have to do something bad, but I have to. So.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Of the alien in the first Alien movies, something happened.
And we have no monsters, no serial killers, no crazy characters, no maniacs. Only normal people in a normal crazy situation, like Neil said about the 9/11.
Before I continue on, Neil, I just want to ask, how did Comixology come into the picture?
So I have known Chip Mosher, who is kind of running Comixology Originals for a couple of years now. And he's been around at a couple different companies, and we've just kept a friendship up. And when he started, the Originals project, I kind of put my hat in the ring and said, hey, I'd love to chat with you about some stuff. And I've just been kind of throwing him pitches every now and then. And Panic was one that he really kind of gravitated towards. And he's really been championing it at Comixology. And so it just was like the perfect fit. And he's actually the one that put the two of us together. He's been really kind of like, we have two other creatives who have been sort of involved with us on the day-to-day of the book. Our editor, Mariah McCourt, and then our diversity and inclusion consultant, Amanda Stevens. And Chip is kind of like the missing fifth element. He's kind of like the fifth Beatle here with the book. So,
and then I'm going to ask one question to Neil. Then, Andrea, I'm going to ask you this other one. So, Neil, you mentioned about Amanda Stevens. You mentioned that she's like the diversion and inclusion consultant.
Diversity and inclusion.
Diversity. I'm sorry. Yeah. So how did she play a role? Like, what was? How did she kind of help you with the characters, or what was her role?
So when we started creating the book,
yes.
Look, I'm a white Jew from Michigan and now living in New Jersey, right? I have a very specific worldview, right? Yeah. But New York in general is a melting pot, right? It's filled with a very diverse group of people from all walks of life, from all races and religions, all gender types. And so to create this story, the two of us wanted to ensure that the characters that were really involved in the struggle represented that diverse group of New Yorkers. The problem with that being is that I don't always, when I'm telling the story about a character from a worldview that's different than mine, I don't always bring that point of view or am able to inform ways of making that character feel authentic and being sensitive to certain nuances of that character's development. What Amanda was really crucial in was looking at our scripts, looking at the artwork that Andrea was turning in, and sort of pointing out ways for us where we were either getting off base, or things that felt false, or things that felt contrived, or things that felt just shouldn't be in there. And for a lot of our characters who are either African American or LGBTQ, we wanted to ensure that we were telling their stories in the most authentic, sensitive manner possible. And so I really loved working with her. She was great, and she has, definitely, like I said, the fourth part of this project, the fourth creative part of this project. So,
and then, Andrea, like, I know Neil already mentioned this. So, like, what kind of recommendations did Amanda give to you in your character designs?
But it's really easy, but at the same time, really specific. Like as a painter too, I'm a painter too. Sometimes when you do the finished painting, you feel, you see that you need some touch of light here and there. So this is the way Amanda's work for me. So just simple detail, but very interesting and very specific and very helpful for to be able to construct and build a 3D dimensional character. As I told you, this is real guys, real girls. So we don't need really great or incredible characterization, but something realistic. So I can meet these people around here. Could be my friend, could be my brother, my wife. So this is the point. It's very interesting. It's very interesting, like deep at the same time. I like when we touch this kind of topics without to be too much political or too much speculative. I mean, with smart and clever approach is the best way ever. We are here to tell something to the readers.
Yeah,
not to teach something to the readers.
And then that's going to lead me into I'm going to ask Neil, who are the main characters to the story?
So it's a like I said, it's a diverse ensemble. I don't know that there's one. I mean, we come into the story definitely with one of the characters' point of view. This character, Annie Delgado, who is a girl from New Jersey. She's very much the story is set during the pandemic, maybe towards the tail end of the pandemic or midway. So there's still masks. There's a lot of protesting going on. It's a very politically charged story. And so she is kind of our lead into that. She's definitely very liberal. She's actually on her way to a protest in the city with her friend. And she is kind of the way we get into the story. That being said, as the issues sort of roll out, all of the characters' point of views really become crucial. So, you have Tim DeMarco, who's the guy who's actually operating the train, who has a very huge self-esteem issue.
Okay.
His parents have always been on him. He just kind of wants to float through life. And suddenly he's got this responsibility thrust on him, as he's one of the two people in the crash that really have any sense of authority as part of the path system, as part of the the New Jersey transit system. And suddenly he has to deal with that. And then you've got a guy named Jeff Dean, who is kind of our lead, our male lead, and he brings a certain aspect to the story as well. So everybody kind of brings a little bit of their own self and their own worldview as leads, but it's really a straight ensemble, and that's the way I've chosen to tell the story.
Andrea, do you want to add anything to what Neil said?
Yes, for me, the main characters are the fear and the doubt.
And you know what? That he makes a whole lot of sense. It's really the reader becomes kind of the main character. It's about the expectations and attention, and it's about what the hell is happening. And hopefully, and you see, look, the story takes place, like I mentioned, underground, right? It takes place as a New York, New Jersey commuter, somebody who takes those trains every day, like I do. But as hopefully we get to do more, if we get to do more, the city itself, New York, really takes lead as well, right? It's about New York and New Jersey, the tri-state area. It's about, what happens to it as we figure out, like, how come they crashed, what really went on. The fear and the city really kind of hold hands and become almost this overwhelming lead to the ensemble. And the ensemble takes their lead from them.
Yes.
But Andrea, you make a fantastic point.
Yes. And then Andrea, correct me if I'm wrong. You did the colors on the story, correct?
Yes, I did the watercolors. Yes. And once again, I tried to put on the pages, not only the color of the word, but the color of the emotion and of the feelings. I'm not the kind of artist that have this kind of classic approach of the pages. I prefer to tell something with the color, not to explain something with the color, like the sky is blue, the green is grass is green. But I try to put something, it depends on the moment.
Yes.
Something really cold on super hot, or like very gray. And I want that they're really going to read the story read the text immediately. And the reader had to be involved immediately on the pages, and every single panel for me is have weight. And we tried some graphic solutions, I think pretty interesting, and sometimes pop, but I think really current with the story. So I think it's gonna be interesting.
And what I think is completely genius about your work too is that I would say half the story takes place in the dark, right? Half the story takes place underground in the dark. And how do you visually tell a story that's not overwhelmingly dark and black and neutrals? And you really stepped up, and look, in Maniac, you use red very, very well, right? And here you've used reds, you've used blues, yellows, ways to really take that sort of like emotional spectrum for what our characters are thinking and what the characters are doing at any given time. And even sort of like the tension at the end, right? There's like some really bright oranges, like to the heat of the anger, the heat of a moment. It's very masterful, and I have to applaud you, because I don't think I've ever said that to your face. I've never said it to your face, and I'm going to now. Even though our emails back and forth are always like, "Cool, awesome, brother, fantastic." But I really have to tell you that as pages roll in, I've been the first to see them, and every page is just catharsis for me. They're just fantastic, and what you did with the color here is fantastic.
But you know what? I want to say, when you work with writers like Neil, and you share the same passion, the same goal, it seems really easy for an artist, even for a writer, I guess, to make something good, because there is no fight, no the comprehension is immediate. It's really awesome to talk about the best way to follow, and it was really easy and funny. I know when we chat something to change details, or maybe what about this, what about that. It's great. It's great.
I'm going to disagree slightly and say that there were moments. One of the great things about comic book partnerships, right, co-authoring a comic book as a writer and an artist, is that the writer and the artist, neither of them are right. The product is the story is right? At the end of the day, it's the right thing that gets on the page. So you have to put your egos aside sometimes and say, like, if one of the co-authors comes back and says, hey, this isn't working, or have we thought about this? The other co-author has to sit there and say, you know what, I have to put my ego aside and decide if it's right for the story. And what working with Andrea really taught me is, with an ensemble cast, is understanding the limitations of the space, right? I'm a very big believer in, I want to get everybody into every panel. And there were some emails, days that he and I went back and forth where he was like, you can't put 6 characters into this one panel. You're not going to have room for the dialogue. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. Take these 3 people out. He's like, no, you got to take 4 out. And so what I will say is, when there is a mutual respect between the partners, between the co-authors, where we both understand it's not about me, it's not about him, it's not about the editor, it's about the story and about the characters. That always leads to good work. That always leads to the team saying, you know what, you're right, I was wrong, let's make the change and we'll fix it and make the comic itself better. And that goes with anything you do, right? And so what I would say is, it wasn't always easy. There were days where, excuse me, we went back and forth, and I have to actually sit and think about it and be like, well, I really want to do this. And, kill your darlings and basically say, you know what, he's right. And there were days that sometimes he had to do the same for me, where I was like, look, I get what you're trying to do here, but the narrative flow doesn't work. That's very important to make sure that the narrative journey is working, as much as making sure that the art has the space to breathe. And so what I loved about this partnership was that the two of us always arrived at a place where, even if we were hot in our emails, at the end, we were always like high-fiving each other virtually via email, saying, you know what, this is right, we're great, let's go. So.
Yeah, and of course, vice versa too. So sometimes I was wrong, so I fix here and there. For example, one of the most tough problem was because we have a bunch of people, and when you have to show a bunch of people all together, we have to zoom out of the camera, but at the same time we are in the subway, so the roof is not super high, so the point of view can be too far because it's not a church, and you completely lose the claustrophobic, the dimension of the situation. And it was funny because we try to handle it, because sometimes I need to put 6 characters. So with the first plan, with the super zoom on, zoom off, it's a kind of direction to 2-person, the camera. It was very funny. Sometimes hard, not hard, but but very funny.
Well, I promise, Andrea, that the next volume that we do is not taking place in a cramped subway car.
Let's all together.
I'm going to slowly start wrapping things up. So Neil, you so I know this is a 5-part limited series. Do you guys have plans for a sequel or another story that's going to take place? Okay.
Yeah, so The Panic is what I would call my deer hunter. It's definitely, there's many volumes, well, not many, maybe like 4 volumes. I've actually got a full pitch for, I know what's going to happen all the way to the end. And the idea was that what I wanted to do was tell a tale that started underground and then really almost kind of like opening a flower. You kind of get out further, space opens up. So the second volume actually, if we get to do it, takes place above ground in New York. And then the third volume takes place outside New York in the tri-state area. So, and then there's a 4th volume that goes even beyond that. So there are plans, really, kind of at the end of the day, with any comic book or graphic novel or any creative project you do, it's about, is there demand, right? We have our comic, issue 1 is up for pre-order on May 3rd, and then the collected volume is coming out from Dark Horse in November, as a physical printed volume. And what we really need is people to pre-order the book, right? We need pre-orders. We need to see that people are buying it, are talking about it, are excited about it. that is the way any comic book, any graphic novel really becomes successful, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mentioned Savor, right? Savor, the book that I did before this, came out on January 6th. A lot of people didn't know it came out. I had to really kind of like bang the drum. We had some great marketing team people at Dark Horse working with me, and we really did get out there. But at the end of the day, it did fine. It didn't do the numbers we were kind of hoping for, but it did great. But it wasn't enough for us to do a second volume. So we're hoping that with the Panic, this first 5 issues, which really, I got to be honest, it ends kind of nicely with a little bit of an unknown, but it ends also like with it open for more. If people support it and go out, and I know they will. I know that people will come out and check us out and read it and love it. Hopefully, Comixology will come back and say, "Let's do the second volume." And
yeah, for sure, guys. I'm really confident because the last volume of this first run, the closure is really amazing because we close with the mist, and this is incredible metaphor, and Neil did a great job about that because after 4 volumes underground in the black and the pitch black, now we are outside, but what the hell, a mist? I can't see anything, so I'm pretty sure that the readers are gonna be over the mist.
Okay.
By the way, we just spoiled the ending to the book. You know that.
No,
we literally just told people that they get out. So
yeah.
Do you want to edit that part out?
No. So the best thing about this comic, I'll be honest with you, is that this is sort of a cliche, but this comic, The Panic, is about the journey, not the destination.
Exactly.
It's about getting out. It's about the light at the end of the tunnel, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel. But the shit that happens along the way is pretty horrific.
Great call, man. Great call. Absolutely agree.
All right. I'm going to start wrapping things up. Andrea, at the beginning, I mentioned that you have a new book out called One Eye Open from TKO. May I ask, can you just tell the listeners what the story is about?
So this is one of the many books upcoming, but One Eye Open actually is not a comic book, but it's a novel.
Oh, that's
and
right.
with Alex Rachel, yes, Alex Rachel is a friend of mine since forever, and we had this chance to work together in one of his novels, and I did the illustration inside it. And the story is a horror story mostly. It's take place in Denmark, and it's really nice and fighting. It's very subtle. I mean, psychological in some ways.
Yes.
Could remind the Midsummer for some reason, but it's really interesting because it's not splatter, no bloody, no crazy monsters, but there's something underneath the soil or something like that, underneath the soul. I can't wait to see how the reader's gonna be with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. I'm going to start off with you, Neil. Do you have a favorite convention moment?
I mean, I've had a lot of great convention moments. One of them was seeing Grant Morrison ride a Star Wars speeder bike at a Battlefront party. That was fun. Look, most of my good convention moments really come from meeting people, right? Selling a book, talking up the book, really kind of introducing readers to a book they haven't seen before.
Yes.
I'm very big on, I don't get to a lot of conventions, to be honest with you. I don't travel a ton. I do the one here in New York, the New York Comic Con. I'm actually going to go to San Diego this summer, hopefully, because I have a book coming out, different book. And then maybe we'll talk up the Panic a little bit. But for me, it's about really interacting with people who enjoy and support the work that I do. It's them, coming and, I love it when somebody comes up to me with my work, right? Where they come to the table having brought my work with them or brought a book that really touched them or inspired them and saying, hey, I really enjoyed this. Would you mind signing it for me or for someone else? Those are my favorite moments at conventions. Talking with my friends and networking and doing all that and getting to see some cool stuff is always great. And there's always crazy moments where you might meet people or what have you. But for me, it's about the connection with your reader. It's about the connection with the people who are the reason we're here. People who are just really want a good story.
Andrea, what about you? Do you have a favorite convention moment?
I do many shows over the years. So, Comic Con always Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
and some coast, Tampa Bay Comic Con, and many others all around. And it's always a pleasure to meet the readers, as Neil told, because it's always interesting to see what the readers what they're thinking about the work, the story, the artwork, and to share the ideas, talk about that, even talk about everything else. And it's always a pleasure to know new people, new guys, new
Yes.
girls, new. And for us, like an artist and writer, I work like in my studio, so sometimes it's really you kind of refresh your air, take a break, and you are working, but at the same time you get some fresh breath. Yeah.
I mean, I'll also say, like, beyond that, like, I've taken my kids to conventions, right?
Yes.
And that's always fun when you get to bring your family, especially, when your kids are little, to a convention and let them sort of experience what you do. I've had, my two older sons, each separately, have come to New York Comic Con with me. And both of them have sat there while I've signed books and have been bored and said, "Dad, I want to go shop."
Yeah.
And then they've dressed up, and my middle kid, actually, I brought him when he was like 5 or 6, and he was wearing like a Wolverine costume, and I got to bring him, and there was another guy dressed up like Hugh Jackman Wolverine with like these giant metal claws coming out of his hands, and the guy actually chased us around. He was like, "I want to take a picture with your son," and I was like, "Sure," and my son would not take the picture. He was scared of him. But like those are fun moments, being able to really kind of marry something I love with the people that I love. And my wife knows like a bunch of people that I work with, and, editors and collaborators over the years. And she was actually hoping to come to San Diego with me this year, but I'm not so sure that's going to work out. But those are the good moments, right? Those are fun convention stories for me.
2 more questions. Andrea, I'm going to ask you, have you and your family been to Hawaii?
No, not yet. Not yet. I miss that place. It's in my long list.
Yes.
I promise.
Neil, what about you?
So it's funny because people ask me that all the time, because Savor is set on a Pacific island that's very inspired by Hawaiian culture. Actually, we talked about consultants before, but I had a consultant on Savor, Carl Shinyama, who's an editor. He actually read over my script looking for like cultural and mythological and food-based details of my script. But I've actually never been there. And I had told John and my wife, John the artist, and my wife, I had told them that if we got the second volume approved, that I would actually go, that we'd take a trip out there so I could do a little research. But sadly, that didn't happen.
I go whatever.
Yeah, Andrea's like, I've researched. I'll go on a Tuesday. I don't care.
Absolutely. I'm ready to go.
But I'd love to go. I mean, I have friends who have been, and it's beautiful, and the food looks amazing, and I'd like to go. It hasn't happened yet.
All right, last question. I'm going to start off with you, Neil, first. Do you have any closing words to our listeners?
I mean, buy the panic, I guess. Look, comics is tough. Comics is you spend a lot of years putting together something that you love, something that you hope people will love, and you're hoping that at least the story moves somebody out there, right? Somebody, whether it's moves them to be emotionally excited or emotionally scared or just love it, hate it, react to it, right? So my hope is, look, not everyone's going to love this book. Not everyone's going to hate this book, but I hope people at least try it out.
Yes.
And support the work that we're doing, because we'd like to tell more. And, this is, to me, telling a story is one of the greatest things you can do. Telling a story to somebody, getting something that's in your head, an idea, a theme, a character, out into the world and really affecting someone else out there, whoever that person may be, is one of the greatest things you can do. And so my hope is that folks come out and first pre-order the book, and then talk about it a little bit, tell other people to try it out, and ultimately kind of enjoy the work we do so we can do some more.
Yeah,
Andrea, any closing words?
You know, this is my job. I love my job because for me it's something special. Not because we are special, because for us this world, small world, is special. I really hope that the panic could be interesting. I hope that the readers can get something from the book. Any feelings? Maybe somebody can hate it, but it's always a feeling. So I like that this book can be a talking stuff for it. So this is the point.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we keep kind of circling around, we keep talking about the diverse cast, what have you, but look, we're in a place, especially here in America, if not the world, where, when I started writing this book, we were already kind of a divided world, right? Politically, socially, culturally.
Yes.
Every day kids are out there fighting for their lives one way or the other, whether, because of the color of their skin or who they choose to be or who they choose to love. And to be honest with you, it's scary to think that when the chips are down, you may have to second guess whether you can depend on somebody else as a human because they don't support a choice you've made, or not even a choice you made, who you are, right? I wear, like, I'm an Orthodox Jew. I wear a baseball cap most of the time, but most of the time I don't. I wear a yarmulke, a kippah on my head, and I wear it proudly. I wear my religion for all to see. My sons do the same. My wife, my daughter, we're very publicly Jewish. And my concern is always, like, if God forbid the worst would arrive, and if you look at history, the worst had happened, right? If God forbid that ever happened again to people of my faith, who could I look to for support? Who could I look to help me survive? And sometimes you worry that it may not be your neighbor. It may not be the person next to you on a train. And I know that I am luckier than most. Like I said, I'm white, I'm middle-aged, I have a good job, but there are people that don't. And I'm hoping that the panic can highlight the fact that even when we are talking about a very divided populace, people who come from all walks of life who don't really support or believe in the political or social or cultural ideologies of the person next to them on the train, they can still put that shit behind them and do what they have to survive.
Totally agree.
Did you want to add anything, Andrea, before I wrap up?
No, I think it's okay. We can talk forever.
And we would, yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
for sure, I can't wait to see the book for sure. That's one of my point.
Yeah.
All right, so Neil and Andrea, I wish you guys all the success with the panic. Mahalo. Thank you in Hawaiian for your time. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to interview both of you guys. Thank you very much.
Oh, I thank you, man.
Thanks for having us. Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely. Anytime.
And it's so cool that's the first time you guys are seeing each other face to face.
Yep. Sometimes that happens. I've had partners who we've never met, and you meet each other at a convention. That's what's great about conventions too. Is I've worked with a Chilean artist, this guy Fernando Pinto. We worked on a couple of books together, a short story, and for years it was just all email. And then I was at New York Comic Con, and he came walking up to me, and he's like, "Neil," I'm like, "Fernando." And we have a picture to come out. It was like the first time we met it. It's a great feeling, right? Because, the way comics are, you can kind of do them from anywhere at any time with anyone. So that's sort of the blessing and the curse of it, right?
Exactly, at the same time. I'm going to New York City Comic Con this October, so I hope to meet you there, man.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm gonna buy you many drinks.
Absolutely.
All right. I also want to thank Pamela of Superfan Promotions. Pamela, thank you very much for setting up this interview.
Thank you, Pamela.
Thank you, Pamela.
Now, listeners, if you are a new comic book reader or a lifelong comic book reader, please check out The Panic. It is a 5-part Comixology original. The first issue drops again on May 3rd. Issue 2 comes out on June 7th. I want to thank Drew, the co-host of Comics for Fun and Profit, for putting this episode together. Drew, thank you very much for all your hard work behind the scenes. And if you are a new listener, please check out new episodes of Comics for Fun and Profit that comes out every Saturday. And I want to thank you, the listener. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for listening to this episode. Until next time, guys, aloha.
Aloha. Nice.
Our LCS is Cowabunga Comics out of Oconomowoc, Wisconsin, and their mail order company, Deep Discount Comics. And we went there, and we were actually invoice number 00001. We were the very first their very first customer, which was kind of cool. They've been nothing short of fantastic, customer service wise. Discounts, they were very close, if not the same or better than DCBS on a lot of things. Over and above, customer service wise, always taking care of us, going the extra mile, so responsive, getting instantaneous responses back to questions about things, to the point where knowing the stuff you like and anticipating your needs and having it suggested that you might want to add this to your order already before you even have to think about it. That's kind of cool. Really quality experience. So we love working with Cowabunga and Deep Discount, and that's why they're in our show notes every single episode, and have been for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of episodes. That we leave them there because we like them. They're cool, good people. That's why they're in there. By God, they'd tell you to, if you've got a local comic book shop that you love, stay with them, because everybody needs to support their local comic shops. But if you're looking, check them out. You can check them out in the show notes. There's plenty of ways to get a hold of them. Either get on their list, just so you can check and see what kind of FOC and pre-order stuff they have and the discounts, and they'll send it to you each month, get you on that email list. And you can check out their shop, because they have a great shop of exclusive Cowabunga variants. Amazing stuff. Yes, they've always been there for us, and we take them for granted. So there you go. Now you know.